Hello and welcome to the Gadgets and Gizmos show on Headlines Today. I'm Siddharth Sharma, and over the next half an hour, what you guys have been waiting for, the reviews of the much hyped iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus. But before we begin, let's take a look at what else is on the show. Looking for a budget phablet? Gionee's got one for you guys. Nokia plans to shut down its factory in Chennai. And also, are Xiaomi phones secure enough? Okay then, that's our lineup on the show, and without any further ado, let's dive straight into the review of the iPhone 6. Sahil Gupta, Assistant Editor ITGD, with his take on the phone that everyone wants.
In the tech industry, when we talk about hype, then we have to talk about Apple. Apple's iPhones are the most hyped products of the year, and this year Apple launched the biggest new upgrade for the iPhone. Here we have the iPhone 6, which for the first time has a 4.7-inch screen. We find out if this is worth the hype. So the biggest new feature out here with the iPhone 6 is the all-new design. Apple follows a TikTok cadence with its design, and with its new numbered models, it always has a new design. Here we have this all-new metal-based design, but the unfortunate bit about this design is these plastic antenna lines, which frankly look quite ugly. Even the camera lens protrudes, so phone is not balanced when it sits on a surface. But overall, this design is actually quite ergonomic. It feels great in the hand. The in-hand feel of this phone is frankly quite sublime. The iPhone 6 has a brand new 4.7-inch display. It has a resolution of 1334 by 750 pixels. While this is not the highest resolution in the market, this is actually quite a beautiful display. Apple has used curved glass here, which subtly tapers around the edges and helps usability for the swipe gestures of the interface. And in terms of viewing angles, this display is just incredible. The color fidelity of the display is fantastic. Yes, the resolution is not the highest, but it's good enough for most people. Before the iPhone was launched in India, there was a lot of chatter about bend gig. There were reports that the iPhone was bending very easily without much pressure put on it. But we don't find it to bend that easily. But the thing is, the iPhone is still pretty fragile. It can break quite easily, like here. We just dropped it once and it broke very easily. This phone does not have Gorilla Glass, but Apple says it has got iron reinforced glass. But in our opinion, one drop and it can shatter like this. So the iPhone 6 is powered by an A8 Apple CPU. It's a dual-core CPU. It has got a 64-bit architecture, and it has a clock speed of 1.4 GHz. All this is tied up with 1 GB of RAM, which in the scheme of things is not a lot, but for Apple it works very well. In our tests, the phone performed brilliantly. There were no lags, it was very smooth. In fact, the biggest calling card of this new CPU is sustained performance. Most Android phones, they have performance drops after extended usage. The iPhone does not have that. On the back, the iPhone 6 has a 8-megapixel camera. It's a 8-megapixel iSight camera with a f2.2 aperture and a new ISP, and this actually is a brand new image sensor. The performance of this camera is absolutely fabulous. For general usage, this is the best camera phone in the world. Yes, you may have the Nokia Lumia 1020 out there in the market, which has 41 megapixel resolution, but for most users this will be a better camera. It's faster and it's got some really cool features. If we are comparing the iPhone's battery life to Android phones like the Sony Xperia Z3, which has a 32 mAh battery, 3200 mAh battery, 1810 does not sound a lot. Frankly, in general usage also, the Sony Xperia Z3 lasts easily about a day and a half or sometimes even 2 days, but the iPhone for most people will last a day. That's one area where Apple still has to improve. Most probably because of this super slim design, Apple wasn't able to cram a bigger battery out here. In the bigger scheme of things, the iPhone 6 remains the best phone in the world. Yes, it may not have specialty features like a heart rate monitor or waterproofing, but for most this will remain the best phone in the world because its user experience is absolutely flawless. Even the Touch ID scanner works better than ever, and it's almost 100% bang on out there. For iPhone 5s users, this may not be a big upgrade, but if you're looking for a bigger screen, then this is the phone to buy.
Apple just didn't come out with the iPhone 6, but this time around they also ventured into the phablet space with its bigger brother, iPhone 6 Plus. And that is also one super phone. Let's take a look at its review. Apple finally gave in to the consumer pressure and ventured into its first phablet design with the iPhone 6 Plus. So what is so special about the iPhone 6 Plus that makes it different from the iPhone 6? For starters, it sports a 5.5-inch display. iPhone 6 Plus is also thin at 7.1 millimeters. The new iPhone 6 Plus is a phone that might not make a lot of sense to some people. After all, it's basically the iPhone 6 with a large screen and better battery, but at the expense of pocketability. It is powered by the latest Apple A8 processor and has a 64-bit architecture. iPhone 6 Plus has a 1920 by 1080 screen, and it isn't simply a blown-up version of the iPhone 6. It's a powerful tool in its own right, and it gives an even greater impression when looking at the pin-sharp graphics. Performance-wise, the iPhone 6 is a very accomplished device and allows users to do things that they might not be able to do on the iPhone 5s, thanks to the increased grunt and larger screen size. When it comes to the camera, the iPhone 6 Plus has an 8-megapixel sensor with improved eyesight and the ability to record 240 frames per second slow-mo. And it's a very adept camera at that, with a large screen providing a very good viewfinder without straying into the tablet territory. However, the bigger change here is the use of optical image stabilization rather than the digital method used on the iPhone 6. This means that the images are clearer, less blurry, and it can even take in more light thanks to being more stable when pressing the shutter button. With tweaks like a bigger screen, optical image stabilization, it's a really good device in its own right. It's certainly not a bigger iPhone 6 and competes well with the likes of Samsung Galaxy Note 4, and in many areas it is even better than the best phablets out there. Now, a serious gamer is always looking for a pair of headphones that will enhance his gaming skills in a multiplayer world. And Kingston came out with one recently in India. Let's take a look at these new gaming headphones.
What's the end game?
Gaming is a serious business, and you definitely need the right tools for it. So meet the all-new HyperX Cloud gaming headset from Kingston. These bad boys cradle your head in a super soft padded headband, memory foam ear cushions, and leatherette padded cup, so even your late game will be comfortable. It's affordable, so there's no pain in the price either. HyperX Cloud is Hi-Fi capable with 53mm drivers and delivers super audio performance in gaming or professional audio environments. It has a frequency response of 15 Hz to 25,000 Hz and a nominal impedance of 60 ohms per system. Its crystal clear low, mid and high tones plus enhanced bass reproduction creates an immersive gaming experience. The detachable premium microphone has a slimmer mic windshield and is easy to plug in for gaming use. And if gaming isn't your thing, then you can always unplug it to listen to music. This is one value for money gadgets for a pro gamer and definitely a recommendation from us at Gadgets and Gizmos.
Now, for all you guys who are looking for a phablet and that too in a budget, look no further. Gionee has come out with a phablet that will fit your pocket both literally and figuratively. Sahil Maniktala tells you all about this one. Take it away, Sahil.
Smartphones are getting bigger and bigger, and naturally the price is much more expensive. And with the recent launches of the Galaxy Note 4 and the iPhone 6 Plus offering its customers top-of-the-range specs, how does an expanding company like Gionee expect to compete with these tech giants? Well, it's quite simple really. Make a phone with average hardware and put the price as low as possible. And that's exactly what Gionee's done with the Gpad G5. But the question is this strategy always good for the consumer? Well, next up in this review, we try to find out just that.
Gionee's affordable answer for phablet lovers is here. At least according to them, that is. At a competitive price of 14,999 rupees, the G5 means to do serious business in the Indian market. But can a cheap offering substitute for average hardware? From afar, the G5 looks rather pleasant to look at, but at a closer glance, you do begin to notice a rather uninspired design. The all-black rectangular boxy design looks a bit ugly and does not really feel premium in the hand. However, unlike the design, the display on the Gpad G5 is perhaps its greatest strength. Gionee has given its phablet a 5.5-inch IPS display that carries a HD resolution of 1280 by 720 pixels. And while the G5 is not full HD, the display still boasts excellent color reproduction with very acceptable viewing angles. In the camera department, the G5 comes with an 8-megapixel primary camera that will take decent pictures if daylight conditions are good, but won't offer anything spectacular. In terms of muscle power, the Gionee Gpad G5 is powered by a 1.5 GHz hexa-core Cortex-A7 processor and a Mali 450 GPU. Combine that with 1 GB of RAM, and on paper, this phablet should be yet another hexa-core offering capable of delivering a decent performance. Or that's what we thought at least.
Now, I did notice that this phone does lag from time to time. Apps didn't always open up quickly, and switching between apps wasn't always a pleasurable experience. And you know what? In today's day and age, all it takes is one jump or one jitter to decide the fate of a phone. So this is one issue that Gionee seriously needs to address, at least for this specific model, that is.
But it's not all bad. At least the device runs on the latest Android 4.4 KitKat operating system and offers dual SIM compatibility, which are always plus points on a smartphone at this price range. Battery life on the G5 is pretty good as well, as it is powered by a 2400 mAh battery that should last you for almost 13 hours on a single charge.
So if I had to sum up the Gionee Gpad G5 in 5 words, it would probably be big screen with average hardware. And for me, that's nothing really special. Now, a lot of people would say, hey, you're getting a phablet for only 15,000 rupees. That's a great deal. No other company is offering you that. And that's fine, that's great. But here's the thing. Would you spend 15,000 rupees of your hard-earned money on a phone that's just mediocre? I know I certainly wouldn't, and neither should you. So for me, the Gionee G5 is nothing really impressive, and I think I'm going to give this one a miss for now.
Nokia connected to Tamil Nadu in 2006. But from this week, the Nokia phones will not ring anymore, as Nokia will suspend handset production at its Tamil Nadu facility after being acquired by Microsoft. Coming at a time when PM Narendra Modi talks of Make in India, the decision to shut down has left nearly 5,000 employees high and dry. Let's take a look.
Behula cannot forget the 7th of October, the day Nokia told its employees that it will be suspending operations from November 1st. The 29-year-old who worked in Nokia for 7 years had no choice but to opt for voluntary retirement. She was earning 17,400 rupees a month at the Nokia factory.
ரொம்ப மனசு ரீதியா ரொம்ப பாதிக்கப்பட்டோம் எல்லாரும் அப்படிதான். எனக்கு வந்து ரொம்ப தைரியமே வந்து என் வேலை தான். நிறைய லைஃப்ல கஷ்டப்பட்டிருக்கேன். ஆனா ரொம்ப தைரியமா இருப்பேன். எது வந்தாலும் ஃபேஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம் பார்த்துக்கலாம். அது வந்து என் வேலையை நம்பி தான் நான் தைரியமா இருந்தேன். அது மாதிரி அதுவே இல்லைன்னும்போது நிச்சயமா எனக்கு என்ன பண்றது என்னால வேற எதுவுமே முடிவு எடுக்க முடியல. என்ன பண்றதுன்னே தெரியல. அப்படிதான் இருந்தது. அப்ப ஆரம்பிச்சது இப்ப வரைக்கும் எனக்கு உடம்பு இன்னும் செட்டே ஆகல.
Behula, who played a part in connecting people the Nokia way, will now make faces more beautiful. Employment at a parlor will fetch her 4,000 rupees. Nearly 4,700 employees at the Nokia plant opted for VRS, but another 851 employees are hoping the government will intervene at the last minute. One such is 30-year-old Amal Raj, who works in the engine operation team at the Nokia facility center.
நோக்கியா சொன்ன அதே வார்த்தை தான், யாருமே கைவிடாது அப்படின்ற மாதிரி. அந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது எங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது ஒன்று செய்வாங்கன்ற ஒரு நம்பிக்கையில் தான் நாங்கள் இருந்தோமே தவிர அது குருட்டு நம்பிக்கையில் இது வரைக்கும் நோக்கியா யாருமே கைவிட்டதில்லைன்னு சொன்னாங்க. ஸோ நாங்கள் இன்னமும் நோக்கியாவை நம்பிக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம், அதே மாதிரி வந்து கவர்மெண்ட்டையும் நம்பிக்கிட்டு இருக்கோம்.
So finally, one giant is closing down its operations in India. Microsoft sure will have plans to revamp the mobile business, but for now, it's farewell Nokia.
Now recently there have been reports that Xiaomi mobiles have been secretly sending data to the Chinese servers from wherein the Chinese gather intelligence from our smartphones. And if true, that is definitely a threat to our national security. Armed services have even issued warning to its officers and users not to use Xiaomi smartphones. We thought at Gadgets and Gizmos, why not tell you guys how true the story holds. Let's take a look. Xiaomi just can't stay out of controversy, can they? Be it non-delivery of their popular products or data security, they're all over the place. The Indian Air Force recently has issued a medium alert to their squadrons and their families about the threat and have requested them to avoid using the Chinese smartphones from Xiaomi. The IAF's intelligence unit has prepared a note based on the investigations and information by the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. The note states that F-Secure, a security firm, carried out tests on the Redmi 1S only to find that the phone was forwarding the carrier name, phone number, IMEI, address book records and SMS to the Chinese server in Beijing.
The Indian Air Force has issued an advisory to all its personnel and families to avoid buying Xiaomi phones. The fear is that these phones have their servers in China. At least some facilities are suspected to be government facilities in China. All information shared on these phones, whether it's between IAF personnel or their families, could well go directly to Chinese intelligence. That is the fear. There isn't a ban on these phones. There's just an advisory. Avoid buying these phones till the servers are in India.
Xiaomi, on the other hand, did put out a clarification stating, "We do not collect any data associated with services such as MI Cloud until the user provides explicit consent by turning on the corresponding service. Since early 2014, we have been migrating our services and corresponding data for Indian users from our Beijing data centers to Amazon AWS data centers in Singapore and USA. Parts of this migration will be completed by the end of October, and all of it will be completed by the end of 2014. In 2015, we plan to launch a local data center in India to serve the needs of our Indian users." Though there is a clarification on the controversy issued by Xiaomi, on the same day, media reports surfaced on the IAF alerts. The question still lingers with the users: can they trust a company that fails to deliver to the demand and then falls under the radar of the defense forces? Xiaomi is attempting to contact Indian authorities for more details on the local media reports, adding that it did not collect user data without permission.
This isn't the first time that the Ministry of Defense or the Indian Air Force or a defense organization has red flagged a Chinese entity. Before this, coastal radars for the 6,700 kilometer long coast from the western coast to the eastern coast, coastal radars from China were red flagged because several components were Chinese and they could have compromised national security. The Huawei incident is fresh in our minds. Every time government of India says you need to be very careful, you're not looking at China as an enemy but as an adversary. So with these smartphones, what the government is saying, what the Indian Air Force is saying, wait till you have servers in India. These phones are relatively inexpensive, they're available online, it's a cheaper option to buy, but not at the cost of national security.
Data security is always a concern, guys. So make sure you always encrypt your smartphones before you start using it. And with that, it's time for us to say goodbye on this edition of the Gadgets and Gizmos show. If you have any comments, queries or suggestions, tweet us at HLT Gizmos. You can also email us on htwg@aajtak.com. We'll see you same time, same place next week. But for all the news and updates, keep watching Headlines Today.